in 2014, I was laid off while I had some medical debt. There was a gap in my insurance when I moved from one job to another. And during that time, I had to get some medical care that put me in medical debt. And when I got laid off, I decided that I did not qualify for any housing assistance or anything, because at that time I was a green card holder, and in Wisconsin, green card holders do not get those federal assistance, right? And so I didn't, I lost my paycheck, and I was already living paycheck to paycheck. And instead of taking on more debt, I decided that I'm going to give up my apartment, and I ended up living on friends' couches or in my car for a while.
Welcome to Indian Indian News. Our guest today is Harini Aiyer. If she wins upcoming Democratic primary state rep election, she will be the first Indian American to be the state rep in the history of Massachusetts. We are going to talk to her why she decided to run and what is her vision and her plans are. So, Harini, welcome to our studio.
Thank you, Upendraji. Really great to be here.
Sure.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. And all the best for you.
Thank you.
For your during the election. And we hope that you get the primary first and then you win the election eventually. So you have two opponents there, right?
Yes. So I am running for the state rep seat for Middlesex 17th district, which consists of parts of Lowell and parts of Tewksbury. So in Lowell, it is Belvedere, South Lowell, Back Central, and downtown, and a little sliver of the Lower Highlands, which is where I live. That's all of the neighborhoods in Lowell that are part of this district, and precinct 1 of Tewksbury. So I am running against two other people. One of them, his name is John, and the other one is Anthony, and they are both worthy opponents. But as you will find out, I have my story for why I'm running, and I hope to make a case for why I will make the best state rep from Middlesex.
So let us hear your story.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
My story begins in India, as it did for many of us. I was born and raised in Chennai in a middle-class household, grew up in the 80s and 90s with 2 channels in Doordarshan and, everything that was associated with that. I came to the US in 2000 to do my graduate studies. I studied, I have a PhD in nutrition and cancer research. I did cancer research for 15 years. And then I founded 2 startups, 2 tiny startups that I grew from idea to the next stage. And then once I was done with the startups, I joined the corporate world, and I have been working in the biotech sector since then. So that is a little bit of my background. And while I was doing all of this, I also got my green card and became a naturalized US citizen.
Harini, my question to you is, you're working in the corporate world, you had some startups, and politics can be really tough job. Politics can be really challenging profession. Why you have decided to run for the election?
Well, thank you, Upendraji. Thank you for asking that question. I took an oath to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States when I became a naturalized US citizen. And that promise is important to me. And with everything happening right now, with science funding being cut, the National Academy of Sciences basically is now empty, sits without any qualified people on top. And all of the issues going on with immigration. When I see all of these things happening, I feel called to keep that promise. That is why I am stepping in. And you said that politics is challenging. You are absolutely right. What I see is that I already have the skills to take on this challenge. Right? I have solved complex problems like cancer when I was doing cancer research. And as a scientist that is constantly dealing with new information, changing your experimental hypothesis based on that information, pivoting, and making sure that you are reporting out what is true and, giving the data that is, and then the decisions are based on the data and the facts, right?
So now also, if you're running an election in the USA or anywhere, money is a big challenge.
Yeah.
To run the campaign, to fund the campaign. How are you doing there, and how much money you think you need to raise?
Oh, thank you. That is a great question. We can raise funds in multiple ways. I am trying to raise it through individual donations. Individual donations can range anywhere from $20 to $1,000 per person in Massachusetts. And right now I'm just calling people that I know, and I am basically asking for money every day. I spend an hour asking people like, hey, can you donate money? I need about $100,000 to run a really good campaign, anywhere from $60,000 to $75,000 to run a campaign that I can make sure that I have the money to buy the media that I need, and also hopefully pay some of the people that are working in my campaign. So that is what I need the money for. I'm looking for anywhere between $60,000 to $75,000. And what would really help, now I am coming to the bigger Indian family. As you said, I will be the first Indian person to be a Mass state rep. With so many Indians in Massachusetts, that will be a historic first. And in fact, I am the first Indian person to run for Mass state rep already. So that is
already a history.
Already history, but winning would be amazing. And that is why coming to the broader Indian family.
So I have one suggestion for you for your fundraising. Yeah. So there are 140,000 Indians, roughly about, in Massachusetts. If everyone donates $1, you will have more than money you need.
Absolutely,
so
yes.
That should be your campaign slogan.
Exactly. And if they donate $10, then I can run for bigger office.
Yes. Excellent. Good.
But the idea is to get people to be engaged. Not just money. If you can't donate money, I can, sign up, and maybe there are other things that can be done. People power is the name of it.
Also you are looking for volunteers as well.
Yes, I am looking for volunteers, volunteers to knock on doors, volunteers to call people, to remind them to vote. And those are the things that I need. And if you have the time and if you have the inclination, I'll leave you with my website name and, how to get in touch. Please do get in touch. And, Indians come from the largest democracy in the world, because democracy, the size of a democracy is determined by the number of people it has. India is the largest democracy in the world. We grew up believing that democracy is a way forward. I remember going to elections and where everybody will get that little dot on their nail, and that is the person that has voted, right? And that is something that we carry with us as our culture, right? And I want people to be more engaged.
So I have a couple of more questions.
Yes.
So when is the primary?
The primary is on September 1st.
And the election, if you win, they will be in November, right? No.
The election will be November 3rd. So the primary is the main one that determines who goes on to the general election on November 3rd. Yeah.
But in that area in Lowell, if you win primary, most likely you are going to win the election as well. Because your seat was previously held by a Democrat, right?
It has been held by a Democrat. Here's what I would say. No election is a give me. Okay,
Sure.
every election you have to work for that results that you expect. But should I win the primary, there will be more help available, not just from people that are potentially with the other candidates now that see that, hey, this person has what it takes. The second is also the local Democratic Party will also help, because right now the primary they cannot get involved, right? Because this is like
Sure.
Democrats are running against each other, so they can't seem, take sides yet. But
Sure.
after the primary is done, more help will be available to me. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about your career in life sciences industry. Can you talk about where do you work and all this?
Yes, I can talk about where I work. As I said, I work in the corporate world. Right now, I work for a Massachusetts company called Waters Biosciences. I am working full time. I'm a seller, which means that we are on the supply side sales. We provide equipment and reagents for research labs in academia and in the biopharma industry. I have been a seller for 8 years now, and 8 or 9 years now. And I worked in multiple different companies. Many of them were Massachusetts based. And, I have developed specific skills in negotiating, multi-million-dollar contracts, negotiating when people expect certain things, and how to connect what they need with what is their pain point, how to resolve those differences, and happy collaboration, as I call it, like where it's a collaborative environment where you arrive at a result, making sure that both parties are satisfied, right?
So while you are campaigning and all, still you are working. So you are having two full-time jobs.
Yes,
literally.
2 full-time jobs. I call it my 9 to 5 and 5 to 9. I wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. I take my dog out for a walk. I try to get some exercise in, and then I start my job at 9, and then I go from 9 to 5, and then after the 5 half hour, take my dog out again for a walk, then knock on doors, do all of the other things. Usually I'm up until 10:30 or 11,
So now, off the camera, you were talking about some tough times in your life.
Yes.
Especially with your housing, sleeping in your car.
Yeah.
And your fight with health issues.
Yeah.
If you can just talk briefly about that.
Absolutely. So, while I am doing really well right now, and I'm super grateful to God and everybody around me, my friends who helped me, and especially some of the progressive policies that helped me get back on my feet, I must admit that I had some tough times. Especially in 2014, I was laid off while I had some medical debt. And medical debt is one of those things that you especially when you're on a visa and you have, there was a gap in my insurance when I moved from one job to another. And during that time, I had to get some medical care that put me in medical debt. And when I got laid off, I decided that I did not qualify for any housing assistance or anything, because at that time I was a green card holder, and in Wisconsin, green card holders do not get those federal assistance, right? And so I didn't, I lost my paycheck, and I was already living paycheck to paycheck. And instead of taking on more debt, I decided that I'm going to give up my apartment, and I ended up living on friends' couches or in my car for a while. So I experienced homelessness basically, and it was a very unmoving period in my life, especially because there's a lot of shame associated with it. Even though I was so well qualified, I had a PhD, I had done postdocs. In fact, I had even gotten the green card in the extraordinary ability category, and I felt like, oh my God, I am at a place where I can't even afford to put a roof over my head. And a lot of things helped me. I had some great friends that took me in and made me feel at home. I thankfully had my car when I needed like some extension, and I lived out of my car for a couple of months. But the Affordable Care Act as well as unemployment insurance did kick in, gave me a little bit of support. And the best thing was that was not what defined me. I got out of that. I founded a startup with some friends, made some tough choices and lived very economically. And in 2019, I purchased my own home, so I went from being unhoused to a homeowner in 5 years. Then that is truly an American pull myself up by the bootstrap story, if there was any. And I feel that I did that because of the values that my parents provided and the culture provided and the extra support that I had.
So, Harini, on that note, thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And it was lovely chatting with you.
Yeah.
And all the best for your election.
Thank you.